Hi everyone, it's Ash from FPL Hints. FPL is now live and I'm going to create my first draft for 25-26 season. If by the end of the video you've benefited, please be sure to like, share and subscribe. If you want to buy me a coffee and you've enjoyed my preseason content to date, the link is in the description below. So we're first of all going to discuss the new rule changes that have come into force. I will then revisit my final draft before launch and then I'll begin tinkering with my first official draft. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. The biggest rule change headline, first of all, we are going to get more chips for this new season. Essentially, it's a double up and 2 bench boosts, 2 free hits, 2 triple captains, and wildcard, of course, we get 2 anyway. But the split here is game weeks 1 to 19, get a bench boost, game weeks 20 to 38, will get you a bench boost as well. Essentially, more opportunities to score points. And of course, in the past, with the way that the chips worked, we often stocked them up for those doubles and blanks. And of course, one thing that has happened as a result of the way the FA Cup matches take place, there are less bigger double game weeks going forwards. So the impact of the chips hasn't been as effective in the previous season as it was like in the last 5 to 10 years or so. So yeah, we're going to see more chips being deployed by engaged FPL managers during the earlier game weeks. And I actually put a post out which alluded to the additional rule changes as well, to the point where you could literally use a chip every few weeks and roll a few transfers over, because you can still roll 5 free transfers over. That remains the same. And in essence, it's going to make things very interesting. One change that has been confirmed is, despite us getting 8 chips in total, one chip that made its debut last season, the assistant manager chip, will no longer be in play this time around. So it's consigned to the dustbin of history alongside the all-out attack chip. So that is another rule change here. The big headline beyond that is the defensive contribution points. So what FPL have done, in essence, is that depending on the number of defensive contributions that are made by players, they would also get an additional maximum number of 2 points. So what this basically means is that for defenders specifically, they'll get an additional 2 points for every 10 defensive actions in a match. And as you can see on screen there, what that would essentially mean is, for the likes of, let's say, James Tarkowski last season, would have got an extra 44 points. Got Murillo, who got 38 points. So initially, I thought, oh, that's great, extra points for budget defenders. But then you look at it, it's only additional, 1 point over the course of the season. So yeah, marginal gains and more points to be scored. And it just means we need to be a bit more cautious in terms of the budget defenders that we choose. So yeah, on the one hand, it's only an additional 1 point on average for the leading defenders over the course of the season. Having said that, if you pick defender A, your mini league rival picks defender B, then that could certainly add up. So that's something that has to be factored into our thinking as well. And that was for defenders. Just to bring it up for midfielders as well. So we can see for midfielders, clearly similar amount of points for the leading midfielders, works out to be roughly an additional point per match. And again, for the most part, if we're being perfectly frank, yeah, the 4.5 million defenders you definitely have as a sub 1 or even as a starting defender. But it's really brought into play many 4.5, 5.0 midfielders who we wouldn't have considered starting previously. So yeah, additional 2 points for them, provided that they reach those 12 actions within a given match. Is it going to make me more tempted to start a defensive midfielder in FPL? Probably not, but it basically means I'd need to be a bit more conscious with the way I order my bench. Now, coming on to another change that will also take place in FPL, and it's a significant change in fairness as well. So assists are being simplified for 25-26. What that basically means is that where a contentious assist basically was reviewed and no assist was given, from an FPL perspective, you'll basically see more assists being awarded over the course of the season. So if there's that deflection going to an intended target, and then before there was questions on that not being an assist at all, now it will be factored in. And lastly, the other significant rule change, AFCON transfers. So obviously for AFCON, that comes in on a periodical basis during the middle of the season. We now get 5 free transfers. So you don't have to use an early wildcard or roll a number of transfers over. We get 5 free transfers anyway. So in many ways, I kind of see this as an additional chip in essence. It's like a mini wildcard. So for many enthusiasts, they're very disgruntled by this rule change because it basically means that all their planning and hard work is basically being leveled up for the casual managers. I personally think it's a great idea. It means we take less hits, and across the board, we are going to see a record number of points being scored for sure. I think the FPL points record for a given game week potentially, and also for the course of the season, could be smashed this time around. So let's go to where my team was before launch, and I'll give full disclosure on what the budget is as well. But there's one thing I have to first of all just call out, that unfortunately, as I had predicted, Pedro wouldn't be, that's João Pedro, wouldn't be a reclassified, albeit FPL.team were tentatively projecting it. So can't fit Pedro here, just got Neto here as a placeholder for now. And looking at the way it stacks up, 4 million out this time around. I think last year they were out by 1 million. So yeah, a few surprise changes. I think what's basically happened is a lot of the defender prices have been inflated substantially as a result of the defensive contributions. So that's basically meant that where a defender could have been 4.5, they're now 5.0 and so forth. So I think that plays into it as well. But this is now my baseline for the tinkering I'm going to do with respect to my first official FPL draft for the 25-26 season. So first of all, I just think Vicario at 5.0 is overpriced. Do find it weird that, like, with him just about, finished above the relegation zone with Spurs, I felt he should have been 4.5. But then again, you look at the other goalkeeper prices as well. They've obviously bumped them up. This is like old school FPL when you had goalkeepers who were, I think, 7 million at one point. You got Pickford, 5.5 million, whereas he would have been 5.0 last year. And yeah, then you've got Sells, who's 5.0 million, and he finished a lot higher in the league. So that is an interesting one. So yeah, Vicario, out he goes. Kinski, out he goes as well. Of course, I want to look for the 4.5 million goalkeeper to provide value to me with a 4.0 combo. And looking at the options, you've got Saar, Verbruggen as your rotation risk. It remains to be seen. Got Kelleher, who was in my first provisional draft. So I'm going to call him in purely for one specific reason. It's that I can have the 4.5, 4.0 goalkeeping combo with Brentford. So got Kelleher, got Valdemarson. So in they both come. 5.0 for Colwell, probably deselect him for now. Milenkovic, I would have had him at 5.0, out he goes. Same with Burn, just 0.5 too much. I think Konsa, 4.5, exceptional value. Just missed out on Champions League football, of course, with Aston Villa. And if I just view the full profile for Konsa, looking at fixtures, I know there are a few tricky opening games, but then you've got a few green block games as well. I think he makes sense as a sub-1 player for sure. Going to keep Gvardiol. He was projected to be 6.0 million. Mohamed Salah, 14.5 price on the money. well, albeit probably 0.5 more than I would have thought. Marmoush, going to keep him at 8.5. I'm going to deselect Cunha for now, temporarily. Also deselect Neto. Johnson, I'll probably keep for now. I'll deselect Watkins and I'll deselect Barnes. So I think these are the baseline players I'm going to start off with my official FPL draft for 25-26. So looking at the defenders first of all, and just getting it here. So we can see Ait Nouri, probably due to auto select in some respects, is a very popular pick. Gabriel, 6 mil, same with Cucurella as well. Kirkez. So all of the players you would have expected are that price, are within range. You got that. You got Wan-Bissaka, definitely going to get him in at 4.5 million. I think that he'll offer me exceptional value. Just a reminder of his points last season for West Ham United. He had 35 starts, 2 goals, 8 assists, 6 clean sheets. So over the course of the season, 16 fantasy returns. I think really good value for a 4.5 million defender. I think that's a no-nonsense pick. And just quick reminder of the opening fixtures. So you've got Sunderland, and then Chelsea, Forest, and Spurs and Palace. So I think, yeah, he could be a sub-1, sub-2 option. I could potentially look for a 3-way rotation, perhaps with Konsa, Wan-Bissaka, and another 4.5. So let's keep him in my thoughts for now. So 4.5 million defenders. Looking at the options, I think I do want to get a Spurs defender. Udogie, just looking at last season, I know he had some injury issues as well. Looking at the number of starts, got 24 starts, got an assist, and 28 the season before that. I think clean sheets could be an issue, but generous run of fixtures and fairness with Spurs. So I think he could be a potential option. I think Pedro Porro, just going to look at his price. If he's 5.5, I think he's probably overpriced, but let's just take a quick look. He is 5.5. So just for now, going to get Udogie at 4.5 million. In he comes. And I'm going to need a 4.0 defender as well. So you've got Reynildo of Sunderland, could be a potential option. Not really sure who catches my eye at the moment. They've upweighted the defenders' price tags so that it factors in defensive contribution, so more points, and it will come at a premium price. The one that catches my eye is Reynildo, because it sounds like Ronaldo, and he will be playing for Sunderland this season. I know that he was getting minutes for Atletico Madrid last season, so logic would say that he is potentially going to get minutes at Sunderland. No idea if he's an automatic starter for now. And yeah, I mean, Sunderland, highly unlikely I'm going to start him despite a couple of green block games. He'll be a sub-3 for now. So that leaves me with 27.5 million in the bank to fill in these remaining 4 spots. So it's going to be quite tricky. Let's go on to the forwards. I think I need to rejig this a fair bit. I want for sure João Pedro or Jarrod Bowen. The one thing I've not really factored in with the draft before launch, because it wasn't announced, was these additional chips. I think there's definitely credibility to create a team specifically for game week 1 where you bench boost, game week 2 you free hit, and game week 3 you wildcard. So I'll do a separate video on a bench boost specific team for game week 1. For now, this is a draft with the options that are available, and yeah, it'd be for a few game weeks at the very most. So yeah, João Pedro, specifically want him due to the generous run of games that Chelsea have. And in fact, I say generous, I qualify it with the fact you've got 4 London derbies for Chelsea, Palace, West Ham, Fulham, and Brentford in the opening 4. So not generous in the strictest sense, but I think you definitely want some sort of attacking Chelsea cover with the newly crowned Club World Cup champions. So I'll get in João Pedro. There we go. So just at it, £20 million for 3 berths to fill in. So I guess now, am I going to go for a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3 essentially? So looking at the forwards, just looking at, let's cap it at £6 million. Got Beto, Obi, Barry, Bamford. Yeah, I mean, they're on really clutching straws here as to who I'd get. I think Beto, I've got a feeling, won't be a regular starter this time around. There's not much you could consider. I mean, if Füllkrug was a regular starter for West Ham, he'd be exceptional value. But then looking at the starts last season, 6 starts, 3 goals and 2 assists. It's going to be a tough one. I might potentially just pick Barnes because I had him as my sub 3, but then I've got Barnes and Reynildo. I think that might be pushing it too much. So let's go back to the midfield. Look at the value players here. Can't get a Palmer. Could I get Ertz perhaps? 8.5. Could be an option. Rodgers, I think good attacking cover if I can't get Watkins. That leaves me with 13 million for the remaining 2 berths. And I'm just thinking the options that are available here. I did have Cunha, who's 8 million. And I think those fixtures are fairly reasonable for Manchester United. But then you've also got Mbumo as well, who's also 8 million, albeit he's still in Brentford colours at the time of recording. So just looking at Manchester United players, I think they're going to be considerably underpriced because of where they finished last season. So let's just go to Manchester United, save the changes. Looking at defenders, quite a few, 4.5 million. Would I want a Manchester United defender? Probably not, but their attacking assets do interest me. I think Fernandes probably should have been 8.5. Rashford most likely will be off to Barcelona, so I can't really factor him in. I'm going to pick Cunha for the time being, just because of his exceptional 24-25 season. So that leaves me with 5 million as of now. Again, looking at this team, I'd want to start Johnson, Cunha, Rodgers, Marmoush, and Mohamed Salah. So I'd want a forward who basically, just get it here, all the way down, 5 million. There's probably hardly anyone. I don't want to go to the Ashley Barnes bucket, but I might have to. You've got Bamford as well, Patrick Bamford, £5 million. And of course, he had a very good season during 2021. So you'd think, oh, that is, amazing value for him. And the issue really with him, if I'm not mistaken, with Leeds in particular as well, that he wasn't a regular starter. It's not the same Patrick Bamford who scored 33 league goals over like 83 games between 2019 and 2021. So yeah, he'll just be like a cameo player. If you really want a cameo player, you'd rather just get Barnes, who played a similar number of games during 24-25 in the Championship. Yeah, I mean, look at Fraser. Just, yeah, not really. There's literally no one you could pick, quite frankly. So if I bumped it up to 5.5 million, and looking at the options that are available, just go to, there's really no one at all. Got Muniz, but then Muniz, of course, plays second fiddle to Jimenez. He only had 8 starts, so can't really consider him. It's a tough one. Not really sure who I'm going to pick from the options here. I'm actually going to change things here. I want a because of the defensive contributions, I could potentially get a 5.0, 5.5 midfielder and then upweight this third striker's berth so that I've got 3 starting strikers. So at a push, I want to try and get Jared Bowen in. Then looking at the amount, it's a bit too much. I'd have to sacrifice, of course, one of these midfielders as well, or 2 perhaps. So Bowen, Isak, Pedro. It's not going to work for me, unfortunately. So let's get rid of Rodgers. Let's get rid of Cunha. I want to keep him. Definitely want Marmoush as well. Let's just go to the midfield options. So got Kudus, of course, who's at Spurs as well. Will that impact Johnson? It remains to be seen. In fact, he's 6.5. Let's get Kudus in just to unlock some funds, £4.5 million. So got an option here. Let's see the available picks at 4.5. I've got a feeling there'll be pretty much no one at 4.5. 4.5 is like hardly anyone will be available. Got Ramsey, Aaron Ramsey of Burnley, perhaps. So if I was to factor Aaron Ramsey in terms of the starts he made in the Championship last season, he got just 1 start for Burnley, so probably not an option. So, I mean, what's the point of having a £4.5 million midfielder? I mean, they might as well just like get rid of, almost like don't even add the players to the game if they're priced to a certain level. It's just pointless here. So let's go to 5.0 midfielders, and no doubt there might be a few options here. So we got Belieber, 31 starts last season. I think he could potentially be an option for me and this Brighton team as a regular starter. Of course, Onana, he's another good option. So Onana could factor him in as well. Let's get Belieber in. Carlos Belieber, if that's how you pronounce his name. In we go. So looking at the team, got basically a budget goalkeeping set. And the issue is that Brentford, again, they'll be an unknown quantity without Frank, and a lot of their big players are leaving. I'm not really expecting many clean sheets here, if I'm being frank with you. Pardon the pun. So I'm not sure how long this combo would last. I'd probably get rid of it after a first wildcard. And on the defence, of course, got Gvardiol, and that's really it. It's just, you're not going to get any drafts with Haaland and Salah for sure. I've upweighted with Pedro, Isak, Bowen, Cunha, Kudus, Marmoush, and Salah. I think that's where I'm investing those funds in essentially. But I'm still 0.5 over, so I'll need to tinker here a bit more. So, I mean, just out of interest, let's just look at all the players that are available and just sort it by percentage. So you can see Pickford is the most popular pick, probably due to auto select. Got Ait Nouri at 6 million as well. Gabriel and Cucurella for good measure also. Can't get to Palmer, so I've got Pedro. I've got Mohamed Salah, so I haven't got Verts for now. I think Mbumo also catches my eye. I've got all the premium forwards, so I think, well, minus Haaland, of course, so I think that could be an issue. I mean, there's no point me going for Solanke if he's 7.5 and Kudus is 6. And yeah, Wissar can't risk it. I think Wood, as good as he was last season, I wouldn't pay an extra 1.5 for him in this rejigged Forest team. So yeah, I need to cut down here. I don't want it like that. I'm relying on too many 4.5s and 4.0s. So yeah, Belieber stays what am I going to do? I think might have to get rid of Marmoush, but then look at Manchester City in particular and just get their stats up. So midfield options, Foden's 8.0. So I think that could be the difference for me to unlock some funds. I know last season he had his lowest number of starts in a good number of years for Manchester City, and he was getting regular starts in the Club World Cup. As a placeholder for now, and as a differential, gonna have to pick him just out of force. I want Marmoush, but I'm gonna have to pick Foden for the time being. So I think I've hit the bank. Just looking at it, like the question is, are they going to be regular starters? So Bowen, yes. Isak, yes. Pedro, Cunha, Kudus, you'd expect so. Salah, of course. Foden, question mark. Gvardiol, I'd start. Udogie and Wan-Bissaka. And then, yeah, Kelleher, Valdemarson basically is the new Flecken Valdemarson from 24-25. Let's confirm those changes. Can't overthink it. So Kelleher starts instead of Valdemarson. And João Pedro. There we go. Udogie, I'll start instead of Konsa. And Cunha, of course, I'm going to start instead of Reynaldo. Captain for that first game week, of course, will be Mohamed Salah. And the vice captain, I'm going to pick Jarrod Bowen. I think that will be the popular combo there. So let's just save those changes. And let's do my famous super zoom in for this first official draft for the 25-26 season. So Kelleher in goal. Again, you show me another 4.5, 4.0 combo that's better than that, then I'll probably switch onto the defense. Udogie, question mark if he is going to be a regular starter. If he is, I think he's great value at 4.5. Wan-Bissaka, great value, and Gvardiol, no nonsense pick. Onto the midfield, Cunha, Foden, Salah, and Kudus. Again, had to do a couple of tweaks to my pre-launch draft to make that work because, yeah, Foden and Kudus, they were basically a million off. And then it's all about this power 3 attack of João Pedro. Is he going to be a regular starter with Jackson and Delap? Remains to be seen. You'd expect so. They paid a lot of money for him. Bowen, no doubt, will hit the ground running after his exceptional end to the 24-25 season. And Isak, he's fixture-proof regardless. And then that bench of Valdemarson, Konsa, Reynaldo, and Baliba. So let me know in the comments below what you think. Is this a balanced team? Have I basically got my funds distribution correct? Is Foden going to cover Haaland? And is there even a possibility to do a Haaland and Salah draft when they are £1 million more than what they were together from this time last year? As always, if you're able to like, share, and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. If you want to buy me a coffee and you've enjoyed my pre-season content to date, the link is in the description below. Take care and all the best.